30 things 80s kids did that are not totally acceptable now. The 1980s, a time when every rule could be bent and safety was merely an option. It was common for children to drive with their parents, roam freely outside all day, or for cigarette smoke to permeate every corner of the house. There are memories that seemed normal then but are now hard to believe, even forbidden. Let's return to that bold era where Gen X childhood had its own unmistakable character. Smoking everywhere. In the 1980s, smoking was a very large part of daily life. It's hard to believe, but parents frequently smoked inside the house, in cars even when children were present. Secondhand smoke was not something people worried about. It was simply something everyone lived with. You could easily see people smoking in restaurants, and most restaurants back then didn't even have separate non-smoking sections. Even on airplanes, smoking was permitted in most cabins with small ashtrays installed on every armrest. However, smoking has gradually been banned in most public spaces, on airplanes, and in many homes. Strict tobacco control regulations have been enacted and enforced more rigorously than ever before, reflecting a significant increase in public health awareness. Secondhand smoke is now known to be extremely dangerous, and exposing children to it is completely unacceptable. Someone smoking in a restaurant or on an airplane today would be considered shocking behavior and a serious legal violation. Cigarette vending machines. Another common sight was the presence of cigarette vending machines. They were everywhere, in bars, entertainment areas, and easily found right outside grocery stores and restaurants. The most astonishing thing was that no ID checks were performed. A child just needed enough coins, put them in the slot, and could easily buy a pack of cigarettes. As awareness of the harms of tobacco increased, these cigarette vending machines have almost completely become extinct. Tobacco control laws have become extremely strict, with tight regulations aimed at minimizing minors' access to tobacco products. Selling cigarettes now requires strict ID verification to ensure the buyer is of legal age. Children not wearing seatbelts. Children not wearing seatbelts today is completely unacceptable, not only because it violates the law, but also because it puts children's lives in great danger. But if you grew up in the 80s, wearing a seatbelt was a fairly foreign concept, especially for children. Safety standards in cars back then were almost non-existent, and regulations were more like gentle suggestions than mandatory laws or rules. Most people didn't wear seatbelts, and many even wondered why they were there. As a child, you could sit in the middle of the front bench seat, control the radio if you wanted, or even stand up to look over the high dashboard. Your father might even put you on his lap to help him drive. Child safety seats were available for purchase, but you rarely saw one in a car. Children crammed into pickup trucks or the back of station wagons. Continuing on the topic of traffic safety, another sight that was very common in the 80s was seeing station wagons or pickup trucks crammed with children, and of course without seatbelts. For children back then, bouncing and sliding around in the back of a station wagon or in the bed of a pickup truck was not a concern but part of the fun, like your own mobile mosh pit. It was an exhilarating experience where chaos was considered an adventure, and the only goal was to try not to get hurt. There were no specific seats, no seatbelts, just children squeezed together, laughing and enjoying unlimited freedom, a mode of transport that is almost unimaginable today. However, with the advent and enforcement of strict traffic safety laws, this behavior has been completely banned. Cramming children into areas without seatbelts in pickup trucks or the back of station wagons is now considered extremely dangerous and a violation of the law. Current regulations emphasize the importance of providing enough seats and seatbelts for all passengers, especially children, to ensure maximum safety in case of an accident. Leaving children unattended in cars. This shocking sight was completely normal many years ago. Children alone in the car while adults ran errands. Often the car windows would be slightly open, and the children would sit quietly in the car while their parents went into the grocery store to shop. There was a different level of trust at that time, a stronger sense of community safety, where people worried less about potential dangers. People believed the children would be fine, they wouldn't get into trouble, and no one would harm them. It was an era where the sense of community and mutual trust among neighbors was much higher, and this was not considered neglect or endangering children. Later, concerns about child safety increased significantly, from the risk of abduction, accidents due to rising car temperatures, to children accidentally activating car functions. Modern society has become more aware of the potential risks of leaving children unsupervised in any situation, especially in cars, where they can be in danger from both inside and outside. What from the 80s did you experience that surprises you most about how much it has changed today? Share in the comments below. Children roaming miles, unsupervised by parents. When Saturday morning cartoons ended, parents often wanted their children to go outside and play and not stay indoors. The common phrase from every parent was to go outside, go anywhere, just don't stay inside. Children were free to roam miles from home without any direct parental supervision. Parents didn't need to know where their children were. This gave children a great sense of freedom. They could explore the world around them directly, creating their own adventures. The only rule, and the golden rule, was to be home before the streetlights turned on. As awareness of many lurking dangers of leaving children alone increased, the lack of supervision for young children was gradually considered negligent and unacceptable. Parents now have to supervise their children much more closely to ensure they are always as safe as possible. Drunk driving. Drinking and driving were considered acceptable by many in society. Laws back then were lax, and enforcement was not as strict as it is now. You could easily see people driving after having a few drinks, and it didn't cause too much attention or condemnation. Some people even joked that they measured their travel distance by the number of drinks they had consumed. It was an era where individual freedom was prioritized, sometimes regardless of public safety risks. As a result, many tragic accidents occurred within just a few years, affecting not only drivers but also innocent people on the road. Drunk driving was quickly deemed a serious crime with extremely heavy penalties. Public awareness of the devastating consequences of this behavior has increased significantly, with many education campaigns and advocacy organizations aiming to end it. Laws have become stricter, and enforcement is much more rigorous. The consequences of drunk driving can include imprisonment, large fines, loss of driver's license, and permanent blemishes on one's personal record. Corporal punishment in schools. In the 1980s, school discipline often included forms of corporal punishment. Spanking or slapping were widely accepted disciplinary methods for dealing with student misbehavior or disrespect. Schools would often send home consent slips for parents to sign, allowing teachers or principals to use corporal punishment on their students. Many believed that corporal punishment was necessary to teach children respect and obedience, and it was considered an effective way to maintain order in the classroom. Modern research has shown that corporal punishment can cause severe psychological and physical harm to children, affecting their emotional and behavioral development in the long run. Therefore, corporal punishment has been banned in most schools and is considered counterproductive. Schools are now adopting more positive disciplinary methods, focusing on teaching students problem-solving skills, effective communication, and self-management. Corporal punishment at home. Similar to schools, corporal punishment at home was completely normal and acceptable in the 80s. Parents did not hesitate to use corporal punishment on their children, and it was considered a quick and effective way to correct children's behavior when they misbehaved or were disrespectful. Spanking, ear pinching, or similar forms of punishment were not only socially accepted but often seen as a sign of a disciplined family. Many believed it was the best way to teach children limits and the consequences of their actions. The general view was that if a child was old enough to dial an important number, or 911, they were responsible enough to stay home alone, and also responsible enough to understand and accept corporal punishment. What in the video surprised or shocked you most looking back? Share your thoughts below. Chickenpox parties. Another medical practice of the 80s, which sounds strange today, was the popularity of chickenpox parties. Before the chickenpox vaccine, many believed it was best to get chickenpox early to get it over with and not worry about it later. So when a child started showing signs of chickenpox, it was a signal to gather all other children who hadn't had the disease yet for a proper chickenpox party. The goal was for them to be exposed to the virus and get sick together, hoping to create natural immunity. This was a practice considered normal and even beneficial in the community, based on the belief that getting the disease younger would be milder and safer. Current medical experts emphasize that intentionally exposing children to viruses is dangerous, as chickenpox can cause severe, even life-threatening complications, especially in individuals with weakened immune systems. Instead of trying to get children sick, the current goal is to prevent the disease through vaccination, ensuring maximum safety for children and the community. Hitchhiking was common. In the 80s, hitchhiking was not only a common way to travel cheaply, but also an adventure, a way to experience the world and meet new people. There was less fear and greater trust in strangers. You could easily see young people standing by the road, thumb out, hoping a car would stop. This was a symbol of freedom and spontaneity, a way to explore new places without detailed plans or ample finances. People worried less about potential dangers and believed that most people were kind and willing to help. Things changed as concerns about personal safety and declining trust in strangers made this behavior extremely risky and discouraged. The media constantly reported unfortunate incidents related to hitchhiking, increasing public vigilance. The development of public transportation services and ride-hailing apps has also provided safer and more convenient travel options, making hitchhiking an unnecessary option. Bullying nerds with little intervention. Bullying was a common problem in schools, and those labeled as nerds were often isolated and targeted by bullies. Sadly, teachers and parents rarely intervened in these behaviors. Bullying was often considered part of growing up, a way for children to solve their own problems, or even a way to reinforce the social hierarchy in school. Weaker children often had to face teasing, malicious jokes, and sometimes even physical violence on their own, without receiving the necessary support from adults. This created an unsafe and unfair school environment for bullied students. Fortunately, this unacceptable behavior no longer appears in civilized schools today. Governments have enacted strict anti-bullying policies, emphasizing empathy, inclusion, and respect for individual differences. Media campaigns have also helped raise awareness of the harm bullying causes to victims' mental health and encourage people to stand up against it. Leaving house doors unlocked. Can you believe it? In the suburbs, leaving house doors unlocked was completely normal. There was a strong sense of community and great trust among neighbors. People felt safe in their neighborhoods and weren't too worried about theft or other threats. Not locking doors was sometimes a sign of trust and welcome, an implicit invitation for neighbors to visit anytime. Children could run into friends' houses without prior notice, and this was not considered impolite or an invasion of privacy at all. Unlike before, leaving house doors unlocked is rare today. The increasing crime rate and greater caution in protecting property have made people much more vigilant. Home security systems, smart locks, and other protective measures have become essential to ensure the safety of homes and loved ones. What other shocking topics about 80s childhood would you like to see? Suggest them in the comments below. Dangerous playground equipment. Playground equipment was made of solid metal, and on hot summer days they could become so hot that they could cause third-degree burns if you weren't careful touching them. Their sharp edges and rigid designs could easily cause deep cuts or even fractures if you unfortunately fell on them. The ground under the equipment was also hard, often concrete or gravel with no padding or shock-absorbing material. Every playground had its own element of danger, an implicit challenge that children had to overcome to play. Scars and scraped knees were badges of honor, proving you bravely faced the playground's challenges. Over time, strict safety standards have been applied in playground design and construction, with the goal of creating a safe and healthy play environment for children. Sharp edges and hot surfaces have been eliminated, replaced by rounded designs and child-friendly materials. Dodgeball in PE class. In PE class in the 80s, dodgeball was an indispensable and challenging game. Every student had to participate because it was part of their grade. Dodgeballs had a distinctive smell no one could forget, and the sound of them hitting others was part of the game. Hard hits to the face were an unavoidable part of the game, and dodging a ball was a small victory. Despite the risk of injury, this game was still considered a way to train agility, reflexes, and competitive spirit. This game can cause physical injuries such as fractures, bruises, or concussions, as well as negative psychological impacts on weaker or less agile students. Therefore, schools are now prioritizing more cooperative and safer physical activities, encouraging the participation of all students without causing fear or anxiety about getting hurt. Eavesdropping on phone conversations. Most families had one phone line, but at least two phones connected to that line, usually one in the living room and one in the kitchen or bedroom. This created a unique and quite common opportunity. You could pick up another phone and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. You could hear secret conversations, interesting information you shouldn't know. It was an informal form of entertainment, a way to satisfy the curiosity of children and teenagers, and was often not considered an invasion of personal privacy. But rest assured, technology development ensures more private calls, and privacy laws have also been enacted to protect personal information. Eavesdropping today is not only considered unethical, but can also face serious legal consequences. Men wearing crop tops. Crop tops and mesh shirts were popular fashion choices for men and were considered stylish, especially for those who wanted to show off their toned physique. These shirts were common in gyms, on beaches, and in movies, TV shows, and even on the streets. They were often used to distinguish sports teams, or simply as a personal style that expressed confidence and individuality. In the 80s, men could freely experiment with bold styles without fear of judgment. Although fashion is cyclical and trends can return, men's crop tops are no longer a popular trend and may be considered inappropriate in many social contexts. The perception of men's fashion has changed, focusing more on elegance, modesty, or other active styles. While some designers still experiment with men's crop tops, they have not become a mainstream trend and are unlikely to be widely accepted in public or professional environments. Lack of peanut allergy awareness. Children frequently brought peanut butter sandwiches and other peanut products to school without any concerns. There were no designated peanut-free zones or widespread allergy bans in schools. Most 80s children had never even heard of this type of allergy. More concerning was that EpiPens, a life-saving device for anaphylaxis, only became available on the market in 1987. So, if you had a severe allergy, you could only pray that you wouldn't die if exposed to the allergen. It was a risky period for people with severe allergies, as information and support tools were very limited. Keeping large pets in small cages. It was not uncommon to see large pets like exotic birds or reptiles kept in small cages that restricted their natural movement. Owners might not be aware that this cramped living environment negatively affected their pets' physical and mental health. Understanding of the physiological and psychological needs of pets was not yet deep, and providing a suitable living environment was not a top priority. Many people simply kept pets out of personal preference without sufficient knowledge of how to care for them responsibly. Keeping large animals in small cages is often considered unacceptable and can be deemed animal cruelty. Therefore, animal protection laws have also been enacted and enforced more strictly, ensuring that all pets are treated humanely and have a living environment suitable for their natural needs. Exchanging valentines at school. Valentine's Day in schools in the 80s was a very different experience. Children could freely choose whom they wanted to give cards to, and it was not just a gesture of affection, but also a silent social competition to see who received the most cards. Receiving a stack of Valentine's cards from friends and admirers was a great source of pride, a sign of popularity and being loved. Less popular children might feel a bit sad receiving fewer cards, but that was part of the social game. This was an opportunity to express individuality and create complex social relationships from a young age. Today, if students are allowed to participate in distributing Valentine's cards at school, there is usually a strict rule. Students must bring enough cards for the entire class. The purpose of this rule is to ensure inclusivity and avoid hurting the feelings of children who might not receive any cards. Randomly chatting with strangers. In the past, randomly chatting with strangers was much more common than it is now. People found it easier to strike up conversations in public, whether at grocery stores, parks, or on buses. There was a sense of openness and willingness to communicate, a stronger community spirit. People were less concerned with looking at their phones or screens, and instead focused on their surroundings and the people they met. As society evolved, randomly chatting with strangers has become less common. The rise of smartphones and social media has led people to communicate less directly with those around them. Instead of looking up and interacting, many prefer to immerse themselves in their own virtual worlds. Additionally, vigilance regarding personal safety has also increased, making people more cautious about striking up conversations with strangers. Showing up unannounced at friends' houses. In the 80s, it was completely normal for teenagers to show up at friends' houses unannounced. It was a spontaneous and casual way of socializing, part of the spirit of freedom and adventure of the time. When you wanted to play, you just rode your bike or walked to your friend's house and knocked on the door. No texts, no calls, just show up and hope your friend was home and ready to play. This showed flexibility in schedules and an implicit understanding that friends were always welcome. The change in communication culture has made showing up unannounced at friends' houses less common because it can be considered impolite or an invasion of privacy. People generally have busier schedules with pre-arranged appointments and plans. Communicating through digital channels like text messages or phone calls has become the norm to ask if friends are free and if it's convenient to meet. Using finger guns gesture. Honestly, in the 1980s, children's games were less influenced by concerns about gun violence than they are today. The finger gun gesture was very common and harmless among children, used to imitate action heroes in movies or TV shows. It was part of make-believe play, a way to express strength, coolness, and sometimes mischief. Even adults sometimes participated in this gesture, treating it as a lighthearted joke. This gesture did not carry violent or threatening connotations, but was simply a symbol of fun and imagination. Parents letting children taste alcohol. When curious children asked about the taste of alcohol, some parents back then might not hesitate to give them a little to taste, just so they knew what it was like. This was not considered wrong or dangerous behavior at all, but simply a way to satisfy children's curiosity, or sometimes part of a family meal where adults drank alcohol and there was no clear age distinction. At the time, there wasn't much concern about the effects of alcohol on children's health or development, and laws related to underage drinking were not as strictly enforced as they are today. Currently, this behavior is considered completely inappropriate and forbidden. There are serious concerns about children's health and development, including the impact of alcohol on the developing brain and the risk of forming unhealthy habits later on. Blackboards and chalk in schools. Do you still remember the familiar blackboard and chalk in every classroom? Although using chalk could be dusty and messy, it had a very unique feel and was loved by many students. There was always a child who liked to run their fingers along the blackboard to create an annoying sound that made everyone shiver. It was a simple but effective teaching tool, allowing teachers to write and draw directly while interacting with students. The blackboard was where lectures, exercises, and even quick quizzes took place, an indispensable part of the learning experience back then. Harmless-looking chalk dust can actually cause severe asthma. For this reason, you hardly see blackboards and chalk in schools anymore. Instead, schools have gradually replaced them with smart technology devices like projectors and whiteboards. Clapping chalk erasers outside? Besides using blackboards and chalk, an activity every 80 student loved was getting to go outside to clap chalk erasers. It was a great way to escape the classroom for a bit, enjoy the fresh air, and relieve stress. 2 chalk erasers were clapped together forcefully, creating clouds of chalk dust flying in the air, a sight many still vividly remember. Despite the dust, it was an anticipated task, a small opportunity to temporarily step away from studying and do something physical. It was also a way to help clean the classroom and maintain the cleanliness of the blackboard. Payphones for collect calls. If a child was too far from home and didn't have change to make a call, they would have to master the skill of making a collect call. After dialing, an operator would ask, "You have a collect call from your name at the community center. Will you accept the charges?" Your parents would know you needed them to pick you up and would come without hesitation, even loading your bike into the car if you had one. This was an essential skill every 80s child had to learn, a way to ensure safety and get home after outdoor adventures. In recent years, public telephones have become almost extinct and are rarely in use. With the popularity of mobile phones, collect calls have become completely obsolete. Almost no child today knows or needs to use a payphone, and they would probably find the concept a foreign universe. Dot matrix printers and tear-off paper with holes. Before inkjet and laser printers, dot matrix printers were the most advanced printing technology in the 80s. These printers were extremely noisy and used a special type of paper we no longer see today. This paper had pre-punched holes on both sides, allowing the printer to hold and guide the paper through. When the printing job was done, you had to tear each sheet along the perforations and then tear off the holed edges. It certainly wasn't a fast process, but at the time everyone thought it was very fast and convenient. Constantly advancing technology has made dot matrix printers completely obsolete, replaced by faster, quieter, and much more convenient inkjet and laser printers. The tear-off paper with holes has also disappeared from the market. Coiled phone cords as fidget toys. With landline phones being the standard in the 80s, the coiled, stretchy phone cord became a perfect fidget item. When you were talking on the phone, it was common to wrap the phone cord around your finger, or even wrap yourself up like a mummy. The phone cord provided gentle tactile stimulation, helping you focus or relieve stress while chatting. It was an unconscious gesture, a small habit many shared, and an indispensable part of the phone experience back then. Many years later, cordless phones became the standard, so this behavior no longer exists. Phone cords have become a foreign concept to the younger generation, and the idea of fidgeting with a phone cord while talking has completely vanished. Parents, sit still and be quiet. Attitude towards children. In this era, parenting attitudes were often quite direct and less complicated than today. Parents often just wanted their children to sit still and be quiet, especially on Saturday mornings when they were eating sugary cereal and watching cartoons. The main goal was to keep children quiet and out of trouble in the house. This attitude was not considered harsh, but simply a way to maintain order and allow adults some personal space. Children were expected to be well-behaved, obedient, and play independently. Today, parenting attitudes have changed significantly. Modern parents focus more on interaction, balanced nutrition, and the overall health of their children. Such a sit still and be quiet attitude is no longer widely accepted. Instead, parents are encouraged to communicate openly with their children, foster curiosity, creativity, and emotional development. This change reflects a deeper understanding of child psychology and the importance of nurturing a supportive environment for children to develop holistically rather than merely controlling behavior. And that's a deep dive into things that were normal in the 1980s, but which today we might find very different or even unacceptable. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't hesitate to like and subscribe to Back to Yesterday for more videos on this topic. Thank you for watching, and see you again.